You're listening to the podcast for grain merchandisers by grain merchandisers. Join us in our good-humored attempt to serve as a voice of reason in an industry fraught with misconceptions and half-truths. And now, from deep in America's heartland, this is the Elevator's Cut.
Welcome back to another episode of the Elevator's Cut. I am one of your humble hosts, Jason Wheeler.
And I'm your other less than humble host, Roger Gaddis. I guess. Am I more humble or less humble? Probably less.
Less, I would say, yeah.
I don't like to go to the back of the bus.
I don't even know what that means.
This means last.
Okay. Good. I didn't know.
Last in, first out, right?
That's right. LIFO, FIFO.
And FAFO.
And FAFO.
Which is how we run this podcast.
We believe that's the most common marketing, accounting.
Yes, all the above.
Marketing and accounting strategy used in our world.
Framework, if
that
you will.
We see.
Sounds more scientific that way.
We do. So, Roger, we're back in studio with Randy and the gang, and we just completed our big conference that we talked about on the last episode. We've completed it now. We had a lot of great takeaways. I went to Roger's breakout session and learned a lot from him about selling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you and Brent.
I need to see your notes.
Did a great deal on how to be a good seller. I just wrote down the words on the slides that you had.
I saw you with your iPad up there taking pictures.
No, which was pleasantly very few words I had to write down.
I relied heavily on memes and GIFs this year.
That's right. Yeah, I don't even think the words were on the slide. I had to pull them
I don't think
out.
people knew what the GIFs represented, but it doesn't matter. I did.
Were they GIFs? Did they move around?
I used 2 GIFs,
Okay.
and the rest were memes.
Okay.
Because, people can't handle a whole lot of animation at once in a meeting setting because they're like, wait, this isn't real. This is supposed to be professional, and I don't know if I'm supposed to laugh at this or not.
Right.
So you give them a little bit.
Plus, it could be bad if you have like epilepsy or something, right?
This is true. You don't need lawsuits.
You got to look out for that sort of thing. So limit it to 2.
Yes.
And you're golden.
Space them out.
There we go.
Insert a bunch of memes in the middle.
Yes. All right, good. Well, one of the things that came out of the conference was at White Commercial. So the company of White Commercial, we work with grain elevators, right? And we help them with their merchandising and other stuff that comes along with managing a grain elevator at times that's related to that, like accounting. Roger puts on farmer meetings for people. He's available for hire.
Yes.
Right?
Much higher.
But yeah, all the little things. So grain origination, so talking to farmers about profitability and all that sort of stuff. But of course, the big thing, how guys make money, there are a lot of ways. But the core thing being merchandising. So we talk about buy basis, sell basis spreads. We teach it, all that stuff. But we also, being around for over 50 years as a company and doing business with a few hundred grain companies, we see folks that are more successful, less successful. And we've talked about that on this podcast before, like what characteristics drive those differences, right? And we see as a lot of our job as trying to help people be more like, what are the good things people are doing that are leading to success?
It's that.
Yeah, you got to win basis.
That's it. That's all. That's all 6 rolled into one.
Yeah, and we will take credit for coining that.
Yes.
That phraseology, if you will.
Oh, I will.
Hashtag win basis. And you got to win basis. A lot of people want to win basis. Most people don't really know the best methods to win basis. And we like to talk about it a lot. But anyways, so what we've observed over the years with grain elevator folks that cause them to be successful. And so some of this is specific to grain businesses, and some of it is just general good business practice.
And life. Good life practice.
Maybe just about all of them are good general business. So
Yeah.
you got a small business. Maybe you're not a grain elevator listening. A lot of these principles will apply to you, and then we'll get into
Do you
specifics
think
of
there's
how they
people
go
in
to
other
grain
industries
business.
listening to this podcast?
Absolutely. I'm sure there's like a,
Aviation.
neurosurgeon that likes to just put it on the background while he's cutting into people, Just feel like, and these guys, they get it,
It's difficult to fathom.
I think so. I know we talk a lot about proctologists in San
No,
Francisco.
there's no we. You talk a lot about that.
Comes up from time to time. That's what I'm saying. You get some keyword searches going, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe I should listen to these guys. You got a lot going on out here in San Francisco. So,
Like the Super Bowl.
yeah, they just had the Super Bowl. They, got attacked by woke at the halftime, and everyone was very nervous and upset. And I don't even know, but it was fun. All right, so that leads us very well
Great segue.
into these topics. So there's 6 topics, and I'm gonna play like the play-by-play guy. Roger's gonna kick in with his color commentary here.
Okay.
Because I got them all written here, so
I left my crayons at home.
after you. Okay. All right. So the first one, I guess, cultural traits of successful grain businesses. So the first trait is skill. So they're always, one, trying to grow their skills from our standpoint, merchandising. So basis trade, winning basis. How are we growing our skill set there? One, learning new things. So if you're, maybe you have staff that's newer to it, and always making sure they're learning new things, growing their skill set, and then the stuff you do know, you can get better at it. We can always get better. Preach it as a coach of young people.
And old people.
As a coach, as I coach young people, and I'm telling them, like, I know you're really good. I know, like, you hit the ball really far, and that's awesome. But, there are people better than you. Would you admit that? Yes. That play professionally or in college or whatever. Yeah. And do they just stop practicing? Because they're better than you. You have to keep getting better. And so a drive to grow your skill, and then also ask for help. That's another sub point of
You know what I would add to that?
Yeah.
You got to know which skills to pursue and which ones not.
This is good.
There is a lot of people in our industry that assume a certain skill set is needed to be a grain merchandiser and to do it well.
Amen.
There's folks that'll reach out and ask, interested in getting in the grain business. Do I need to get my Series 3? Do I need to open a futures account and learn how to trade? And you can. It will teach you some things. I don't know that it will teach you much about basis trading specifically, but it will give you an idea of the mechanics of the market and things like that. But even beyond that, there's this idea that a merchandiser at a country elevator needs to be immersed in the world of, we'll call it the other side of the trade, right? As commercial hedgers, we're just trying to lay off our risk via the futures market to some unknown faceless speculator out there that people hate. Except me, because I want to get rid of the risk. It's great. I'm glad someone's out there to take it off my hands. But there's this idea that to be a good basis trader, you need to understand all the intricacies of the other side of the market, which is false. And you can go and dig into it and learn about it. That's great. Expand your knowledge. It's not the thing you have to know to do your job well. So part of the skill set discussion, I think, is making the distinction between the skills that are necessary to basis trade well and the skills that aren't.
Noise.
Well,
we call it.
You can call it noise, and that's fair. But I think genuinely thinking, there are some people that will insist, yeah, you got to know this. If you don't, then you don't know what you're doing. And those people exist, right, wrong, or indifferent, whatever. But for newer folks coming into the business, there's this idea that they need to know all of this stuff in order to be good at basis trading. And they absolutely don't.
Yeah.
It's kind of like originators, grain originators. What is the first question a farmer is going to ask a grain originator, whether they're new or not, but what's the first question they're going to ask them usually on most encounters? What's the market doing? And they'll tell them where to look up quotes, read it. This is where corn's at. And they'll say, why? No one wants to say, I don't know. But that is the answer. I don't know why. It's just what it is. Why is the weather weathering today? I don't know. It's just what it's doing. But there's
It's a high pressure
sense,
system that's moving.
maybe barometers. I don't know.
Yeah.
Barometers. But there's this idea that the I need to know this. This guy's asking me a question. He wants my opinion. I need to be studied up on it.
You're right.
You can. That's fine. It's not necessary to buy grain to know all the ins and outs and technicals. And I don't even know if they're technicals. It's just data points, right? It's just things that you can know about something. May or may not be useful to your job.
Yeah,
So
that's
knowing
a great point.
which skills to pursue and which ones maybe put on the back burner.
Right. And so the skills I would say you would want to pursue is what we're basis traders. What is basis? Why is basis? All those are good things
Right.
to educate yourself on, feel more confident about, and that's a great point. Yeah. I agree, Roger. I think there's a lot of pressure to know more about the other side of the trade, and it's just not necessary. Now, if you're interested in it, I like sports.
The internet exists. Go search yourself to death. It's
Yeah.
fine. You can find all kinds of stuff.
I like sports. I like learning about giants and stuff like that. But
Literal.
I don't kid myself into thinking that it's going to make me better at my job
Right.
to know those things. But it's just fun.
It's a hobby.
It's an interesting thing to me.
Yeah.
And if knowing the markets and being passionate about the markets is interesting to you, be interested in it.
follow your heart.
That's great. And talk to people who have that interest
Yeah.
with you. That's fine.
That's great.
But let's not pretend that it has anything to do with trading grain.
Right.
That's a great point. Thank you for that.
It just comes back to the when words have different meanings based on, for sure in our industry, what you're doing in the industry. You just said trading grain. It's not important to trading grain. Some people hear that and say, if they're on that side of the trade, and like, yeah, this is very important to trading grain. I need to know when X and Y hits and crosses and golden arrows and whatever else they do. But that is part of their livelihood. But for us on this side of it, trading grain, that has nothing to do with all that stuff. This is a completely different thing. Physical versus paper, whatever you want to call it. But it's this idea of words have different meanings depending on where you're at, which is what makes our industry maybe not unique. We can't speak for other industries, but it definitely makes it difficult at times for everyone to speak the same language.
Yeah.
So you got to be obvious with people what you're talking about. That's a
sure.
skill you need.
Yeah. To be obvious.
That's right.
There's so many skills.
So many
Nunchuck skills, bow hunting skills. So many skills.
condescension skills, all the things.
Yeah. Hey, you're good at that.
Yeah, it took me a lot of years of practice.
You've honed it
20
in.
years of marriage.
Very well. Okay, let's that's only one of the 6, so we got to get on to the next one here. Our next trait of successful grain businesses we see is value. And what I mean by that is like understanding their value, being able to defend your value both internally inside your company and externally to customers, and spending your time worrying about how you can be worth it to do business with, rather than trying to figure out how to cut margins, do everything cheaper, and maybe we could survive another year if we just we just raised our prices or whatever. Trying to rather than worrying about that stuff, worry about how you're bringing value to your customer. Because in the end, a grain elevator business is a service business. You take in a commodity and you there's no like value add necessarily. You could say blending or drying maybe, but that's you're sending out a commodity.
Well, it's not a product value that you're providing. Right. It's a relationship value.
Yeah.
Or logistics value, cash flow value, whatever you want to call it. It's not I'm not taking corn and turning it into something else. It's
correct. Yeah, it's coming in as corn, it's going out as corn. Coming in as beans, going out as beans.
Yeah, I'm here when I'm needed, and at one time of year I'm needed for this thing, another time of year I'm needed for this thing, and it's, it changes with the seasons essentially.
So understand what your value. So the folks that are really successful, they understand what that value is and how they can be more valuable to their customers. So when your customer comes in and says, so and so is paying 5 cents more than you, why? Or shouldn't you just pay me that extra 5 cents? Are you different than them? What's your point of difference from those competitors you have? And hopefully it's meaningful. And the reason he's coming to you is because he'd rather go, right off the bat, he would rather do business with you. He wishes you would pay more. We all wish we had more money, but things cost.
Yeah, it's
something.
wild to think, the key to success in business is to pay more for your inputs. I don't think that's how business works, but
Right.
That's the expectation out there in the elevator world. In some instances, we'll just pay more, match them and pay more. Well, it's not. Maybe they're wrong. Maybe they're not paying for them. Maybe they got their tail in a sling because they're late on getting a train loaded. Whatever it is, I don't know what they're doing.
Or maybe they're paying more because folks don't want to come to them because they
slow
have
or
long lines,
buttholes.
Or they don't get the money out very quick, or they grade hard, or any number of things. But just the fact that they're having that conversation with you, a lot of people think is like, I get this I need to be good to my customer, and it looks bad because they're paying more than me, and so you immediately. The natural thing to go to is I probably should, I got to find a way to pay more.
Mm-hmm.
Got to find a way to make this work, to take care of these guys. But really, what they're saying is, I would rather do business with you than those people. So immediately, they're already acknowledging that you're more valuable. And so rather than seeing it as I got to give away my margin, you should see it as, okay, they acknowledge I'm providing a service. That's good. How can I be better at that service? So maybe they don't even ask this question, or maybe I can be 10 cents less instead of 5 cents less.
And people are. Yeah, it's you see it all kinds out there. But I think it comes down to, we're talking vague, values. Well, how do you figure the value? Well, you ask your customers. You probably got customers that will tell you what they value about doing business with you, and are happy to tell you that.
Mm-hmm.
And conversely, you'll have guys that say why they don't value your business, and we'll tell you that. And maybe that's a key what you need to address to get the value. So to understand, to be able to get the value of basis out of your bins, you've got to have the value to your customers. You got two values there, kind of. So that I think it bears to saying that specifically. When it comes to that, there's learning values of what basis is in your market. What your bin space is worth. If you fill it up at harvest with whichever grain and carry it out, you can identify this is what this space is worth, and we charge accordingly, and we bid accordingly, and all those things. But then it's also being able to identify what makes you valuable in the eyes of your customer, both your farmers and your end users, because we have two sets of customers in this business, and figured out ways to better those values.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Very good.
Check it off the list.
Valuable. Be valuable. Oh, one thing I was going to bring before we move on, internally and externally defend the value. We talked about externally, but like internally, I think even not even to the rest of your team, but to yourself, to believe, because I think we see a lot of people that don't believe in it themselves enough.
Oh, for sure.
To pay what they should. And a lot of the big problems that come up in this business is just paying too much to start with.
Most of it.
You can't
up too much for grain.
You can't out merchandise it once you've paid too much to start with. That's just how it works.
You got to define your value before you can even defend it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Most people don't even get to the point of defending it because they can't define it. You got to do it. You got to say it out loud, whatever it is. Then you can defend it if you need to. But if you can define it and advertise it, and however mode needs to be carried out, you probably will have to defend it less.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Anyways, on to the next.
Please.
Our point number 3 is discipline. So
Like spankings?
traits of successful grain businesses. And this is one that obviously applies to a lot of small businesses, but to the grain business in particular, to have policies, whether it's like risk management policy or how we buy grain policies, all those, have them clearly defined and follow them.
Right. Those are the two big keys right there.
Yeah. So if you can clearly define it, write it out on a, in writing.
Make everyone repeat it that is involved with it. I mean, that's what we see, right? It's not and you can't foresee every problem and ahead of time, right? It's just not a thing you can reasonably do. But you can set some parameters in place that help you mitigate the effects of any issues you have. That's a risk management policy. Yeah. And we're not talking about specifically like, hey, you buy grain, you got to hedge with futures. That's part of it, but it's everything. It's when do we address contracts that have been unfilled? When do we address guys that's been rolling basis contracts for 8 months? When do we address when things have to be priced by for accounting purposes? All the things, right? All those fall under that risk management umbrella, but they've got to be defined. And people's got to understand what they are. And then you got to do the extra step of communicating it to your customers.
Yeah.
And you got to figure out when that works. People change their discount schedules. And it usually happens at harvest because the end users are changing. You got to keep with it. People don't like surprises. You got to get out in front of it and try to tell people best you can. Or if you're changing your DP fees, say, ahead of harvest, do it well ahead of harvest. Do it repeatedly. Even if you got to call people that haven't responded, oh, yeah, I got the email, I know about it, whatever it is, make sure people know, because not everyone reads all the texts and the emails and everything else.
You're one of those guys.
For that. Right.
Yeah.
So, again, you do what you can, but make sure people are aware of any changes. That's a big part of the risk management policy being successful.
Yeah.
People hate surprises.
Yes. And internally with your team, having them on the same page is good, but so putting it in writing is great, and sticking to it, because you put them in writing when you're clear-headed, you're not in the thick of whatever bad stuff's going on.
Aflatoxin hasn't struck.
Yeah. And so you put it together, and then when you get to the point where you say, hey, we should get outside of this and try to say, well, this goes against the policy, or why do we have this policy? What's it protecting us from? And is this going to expose us to that? And why should? And then we're having a conversation about that. Whereas if we had nothing in writing, we're just like, well, yeah, I know that's kind of how we normally do it, but we're just going to, and boom, we just go. Somebody in leadership just says, yeah, that's probably okay, and then you just keep going. But because a lot of people, so to boil this down, a lot of people like to just, with any business, is like, we got a mission statement or a vision statement, or there's multiple types of something. I don't know. But they're big and they're glorious and they're fantastic and they're wonderful. But then then you just feel like, well, we're trying to get to our mission of making the world a better place, and this will help us.
The farmer.
this will help us with this policy. But if we haven't got the drilled down on the small stuff, when the big things happen, they can be big problems, right? So you do it's not fun, it's not exciting to sit down and talk about.
But it's not hard
how
either.
Many bushels along the basis should we be at any time, or whatever, and stuff like that. And well, I guess it's this is our operating line, and this is how much margin call exposure we could have, and so we figure it's this number.
Yep.
Okay, good. If you don't have that before, now you get into, all of a sudden, I've got double what I should have had. I never even thought about this.
Right.
And now I'm in a big problem that could have been solved months ago before I ever had a position. Just thinking through, like, what's reasonable, what's out of our comfort zone, and everything. And we don't know till we're there. So doing the little stuff along the way that's not fun and exciting keeps you from that. The disaster.
Well, you're prepared when
it's like maintenance on your car,
all the things.
Just do it, just change the oil. It's fine. Okay.
Yes.
Next, number 4, decisiveness. So this was I mean, one of the maybe the most important. We've had Phil Luce on the program. He's our CEO, and this is a big deal for him, and he always likes talking about it. And usually we goad him whenever he's on. This has been a couple times. We always end up goading him into talking about it because he's real good at talking about it. So obviously this is
he signs our paychecks. So
he decides to every month, and that's great.
The decider.
So, but yeah, what we see successful grain businesses is they're not afraid to just make decisions and keep moving. You get paralyzed by putting off a decision.
Hesitation's a killer.
Yeah.
Hesitation's a killer. And how do you prevent hesitation? Well, you have some of the stuff we've talked about. You have some skills, you have some knowledge on values, you have things that give you confidence, right?
That's what we talked about last episode.
You have
was
to have
building confidence in your grain merchandising, confidence to make bigger sales and to trust the basis is going to do what we think, and that sort of deal. So you got to have confidence to make the decisions, and the decision you can decide on something, you can move on to the next thing and decide on that. And you're not going to get every decision right. Sometimes you'll look back. And this is where we differ from Phil, I think, maybe a little bit, is like, wow, it looks like that was the wrong decision. He said, no, it wasn't the wrong decision. You made the best you could at the time with the information you had. Doesn't mean it was wrong. It's just you could have done better.
Speak for yourself, Jason. I believe everything Phil says is correct.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what.
Especially if he's listening.
I spend more time with my wife, and she's very much against that philosophy. But
yeah, it is, right? I mean, the hesitation can come on the backside, right? And then you just, in the form of playing it over and over and over again in your mind, and then it affects your next decision.
Yeah. Yeah, the truth is, if you make the decision, and there's always unknowns. You never know what the future holds. Right. So there's always unknowns. You make the best decision you can, and as long as a lot of times if you think like, oh, it's the worst case scenario if I make that decision, there's a lot of instances where the worst case scenario is not as bad as you delaying that decision for a month because of all the other stuff that piles up because you're kind of focused on this and not making a decision and stuff. So it's just like, make the decision, move on. And like the thing Mr. White would always said is like, you get better at making decisions. Yeah, I messed that one up. I'll look at it. I'm not going to ignore that I could have done better at my decision making. But next time I make that decision, I'll be better.
Right.
And I'm going to keep making the next decision. So
it's the difference between viewing it as something as a mistake and something as a failure, right? Mm-hmm. A mistake is you learn from it, and you move on. I made a mistake, but learn from it. A failure is it's completely done, and you throw your hands up, and it's now I can't do anything, and because I messed this up, I can't do anything else. Well, that is the definition of failure. So, how do you utilize that? And this applies to anything in life, for sure, anything in life. What else does anyone in life do perfectly well that now you're assuming you need to do all these things at the elevator perfectly well? It doesn't make a lot of sense. One
thing that was a little liberating for me just personally on the decisiveness thing is John Werner, who used to be the CEO of White Commercial. He's living a great retirement these days. Talk to him occasionally. But John said to me, and I think it's right, is, I mean, obviously we make thousands of decisions a day probably. But he says there's only a few decisions in your whole life that you have to get right. Other ones, you can get them wrong. It's okay. You can fix it. It's fixable, and you move on, and it may lead you to another place that's even better. It may work out better that way,
Probably will.
All that stuff. So it's but it's true. There's only a few decisions you have to get right in life. And they won't be hard decisions to make, I think. And I think that's been true in my life. What about you? Is that accurate? I don't know.
I guess.
Should I marry this girl? Should I not?
I'll tell you on my deathbed how it all turned out.
Yeah. So anyways, the point is, don't stress over every little decision. Like, should I have sold 25 over, or should I wait for 30 over? All right. Well, you can stress over it, or you can just make a decision. Maybe the decision is no. I don't need to make,
Right.
I'm not going to sell that.
Yeah.
And you move on.
Hesitation and saying no to something is not the
Just
same thing.
boom. It's, I decide, I move on. And like I said, it's 5 years from now, are you going to be, in a terrible place or upset at yourself because of that 25 over versus 30? Yeah, exactly. So
many
make
rules.
the decision, move on. And those are the people that have constant clarity and are always fully focused on the next thing. Because if you got a decision behind you, you still haven't made, can you fully focus on the next thing?
And this is, as we're getting into farmer marketing meeting season, I should say, this is huge. It's this, and to this, the last thing I'll add on the decisiveness point is, it's not like you got to get a whole lot of, exactly what you said. You don't have to get a whole lot of decisions right. It's you got to make a few good decisions that aren't bad. So it's kind of I don't know, I'm butchering. It's the Warren Buffett thing. I don't have to be the smartest guy. I don't have to make all these smart moves. I just got to not do a few dumb things.
Yeah, right.
You just got to not do a few dumb things, generally speaking, in life, but for sure in the grain business.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very simple things. They're not complicated. Now, it may be hard to make the decision, but they're very simple decisions for the most part. And the same thing goes with farmers and selling grain. You don't have to know all the ins and outs of everything that's going on to be a good seller of your grain. You just got to not do a few dumb things, or things less than ideal. It usually revolves around timing and cost of selling the grain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's kind of the message to, for a lot of folks. So don't hear being decisiveness as a daunting thing. I get all this stuff. You just got to, it's very, very few things you got to get right.
Yeah. Make the decision, go on, and most of them, if it doesn't turn out to be the best decision, it's very recoverable from. Should I, shouldn't I? Nah. And the thing with on the grain marketing thing for a farmer, you can't be right completely. Because if you sell it and the price goes down, you should have sold more. If you sell it and the price goes up, you shouldn't have sold it at all. If you want to overanalyze stuff that way, you can never be right. So you just make the best decision you can and you move on. You don't think about the other one. Don't beat yourself up over it. Next point. Point number 5 out of 6.
Hey, this is great. We're almost done.
Plugging along at home here with your notebook, taking notes.
Nobody's taking notes on this.
Well,
they're listening to us at 1.5 speed, and they're like, "How this thing's still going on?"
I know. Here's the deal. That neurosurgeon, he's in there working, so he couldn't take the notes. He's gonna have to, but he's gonna bookmark this and come back to it. He's like, you know what? I get my notebook out later and go back through this. Right, Roger?
I see. We had a 2-drink lunch today, did we?
Never. Okay. The next point is togetherness.
Hey, it's almost Valentine's Day. Am I right?
No, Valentine's Day was 2 weeks ago. When this is released. Okay.
We're all in one time.
There we
Past,
go.
present, future is all the same, right?
So anyways, when I say that in terms of traits of successful grain businesses, they value togetherness in that they make it a priority to get together with peers, like-minded peers.
Absolutely.
Whether it's physically or a text conversation.
Sometimes they're not even like-minded peers. Sometimes they're just strictly peers.
They're like-minded in that, yes, we do grain merchandising.
Right. Yeah. There's definitely not always like-mindedness in approaches to things. Yeah, and that's fine. It's great. It's how people learn stuff.
There's no uniformity in the human condition.
Correct. Nor is there in the grain merchandising world.
Yeah. So everybody's got their own little quirks, and it's great. But
could you imagine going through this industry and not being part of a peer group? It'd be like, I don't know what it'd be like. It sounds terrible, just to be isolated all the time. So people that are always on the fence are like, should I go to this thing? And you can always find a reason not to go and do something. Always. You can always rationalize, I got work to do. I got to get it done. It can't go on without me. Well, one, there's an issue there maybe that needs to be addressed if stuff can't go on without you there. 2, I've yet to encounter someone that's been to, I can speak for a lot of our meetings because we go to all of them. But anything, the great state grain associations or whatever it is, industry association meetings, things like that, hardly ever come across someone that said, I went to this and it was just a complete waste of time. I didn't get anything out of it. Being around other people didn't help me at all. That happens. I'm just saying, you don't hear about it very often. Somebody gets something out of it. If nothing else, they got to go hang out and drink some beers with other people that griped about the same things as them, after hours.
Right.
Whatever it is, there's community had that's vital in this business. Because let's face it, depending on where you're at in the world, at the elevator can be a pretty lonely spot, to try to make get outside your comfort zone, so to speak.
Yeah, I'd say the grain merchandiser role specifically is one of those. And I'm sure there's lots of professions like this where people don't really know, like the average person doesn't know what you do. Like if I built furniture, like people know, like, you like hammers, nails, you get it. Stuff like that. You're a farmer. I mean, people know you put seeds in the ground, it grows, you harvest it, and all that stuff. People know the general idea. The general person knows, what's a grain merchandiser? What does that mean? Where do you work?
Nobody knows.
Those big, tall bins? I thought those things just held...
Elevator? I thought it was just stairs there.
Cell tower. What? Yeah, right?
I don't even know what words mean.
Otis. So, anyways, but yeah, it's a very, can be an isolating thing because you can't, even the people you deal with don't really understand
your customers.
The fullness of your role.
Right.
So the genesis of this podcast was even the farmers, even the users you're selling to, like, don't really understand your goal or how you do it.
There's a lot of people that work at elevators that don't understand their goal as well. So it's uniform.
So yeah, I mean, togetherness, you could say, like, hey, it goes back with the skills thing too, but like building other people up in the organization, which you said is, don't be a bottleneck for all the information and
again, when we hear
stuff.
Customers share their stories of how they come to recognize their role as a bottleneck in their organization, and then took steps to rectify that and how it changed, they're like, this is fantastic. This is freedom, not just for me, but for my employees.
Yeah.
Whether you got 2 employees or 22, whatever, it's the steps that allow the work to happen as it needs to happen, without you being the sole bottleneck because of control or just not taking the time to teach other people or invest in them, whatever it is. And I get it. It's tough. It has to be a concerted effort to make it happen for most people because they run lean operations and they don't have the luxury to just take time and do all these other things. It is an investment, but it's a worthwhile investment.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I guess, can be you can identify a lot of talent in your organization, but also these new people that maybe they haven't been doing it as long as you. They'll, like we say, everybody's different. They'll approach it a different way. And maybe it's a better way. And maybe everybody looks at things a little different and has different approaches. But learning from them, and also meeting up with peers outside of your organization to understand what they've done to be successful and all that. So it's a really key point that successful grain businesses, they love doing this. They find a couple times a year. You can take a day or two twice a year, at least once a year, maybe more than that.
Participate in a peer
and just
group.
Go talk to people, Okay, final point. Point number 6. Simplicity.
I thought you were going to say pay raise.
Yeah, just put another 0 on that check, It's
easy.
No big deal. It's simple.
Phil? So, the simplicity thing, right? That's a simple concept.
It is.
But it can be difficult
it's not
to
easy.
implement.
Not easy, but simple. We talk a lot about simplicity and how that is definitely a thing we see of the best grain traders I've seen over my long career.
20 plus years.
20 years. So in the business, the best ones are
simple. They offer a simple menu of contracts to their farmers. They have simple pricing. They have simple policies.
They don't stress about am I paying too little? Like, no, this is my bid and I'm comfortable with it. I know my value, like we talked about. That's just what it is. And I'll get enough bought it's simple. Like grain comes to me. I'm going to be fair to everybody. I'm not going to rip people off because I want to keep customers. But, I know my value. It's simple. I'm buy at this number. I can sell at this number, and I can get the value of my space that the ownership of this company deserve because they've invested the capital to have this. So they deserve that value. My job is to get it out of this business. So it's simple. I buy basis low, I sell basis high, I capture spreads, and I take care of my customers.
Right.
I provide good service. So it's a simple idea. It's hard to do at times.
Right. And I don't know if it's a lot of times. There are times when, from a grain merchandising standpoint, you can say, okay, I'm gonna keep things simple and do this. But then you have situations that appear to necessitate complexity. It might be crop conditions and how to get rid of this stuff now that it's not so simple. Contracts. This farmer's wanting this thing now. What do I do? How do I talk to him about it? It's not a simple thing. It's a little more complex. Whatever it is, there are going to be outside forces trying to exert complexity on your business, your operation,
Correct.
your mindset.
Absolutely. Yep.
And so I think what you're saying when you say a mindset of simplicity is keeping things simple, but also understanding that it is possible and imperative that you learn how to turn complex things into simple things.
Yes.
Because we're dealing with humans, right? So you're always going to have that. You're always going to have something that can be complex. Your job is to make it simple.
Yeah.
You've got to master that skill. And the people that do, like you said, they do it well. And it leads to confidence, and all the things are tied together. But I have yet to see someone that actively pursues complexity from a grain merchandising standpoint be happy about it, be able to repeat it year in, year out, and be able to make the best return to their bin space that they can do. I haven't seen it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I haven't seen it.
Right. Yeah. Finding simplicity in everything, it's there. You have to find it sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's not easy to find. But the simplicity is there. Boil it down to a simple goal, simple language, whatever it is, and keep things simple. Mr. White, one of his most famous quotes is, "People make life too complicated. If you don't uncomplicate things, you can never get any place." Obviously very true thing is, and that goes back to some of the other points decisiveness. If you can simplify it into a basic decision, make that decision, boom, we've uncomplicated it, and now we can get someplace else. Let's move on to the next thing. And you got to keep moving forward, in
Yes.
any business. So that's a great. So the best people, they have skill, they know how to be valuable and defend their value. They're disciplined. You're numbering them for me. Okay.
I got 3.
Thank
We're
you.
going.
All right. Discipline. They're decisive. They make decisions, move on. They prioritize being togetherness with people, with peers in their business. And finally, they make things simple.
Yes.
Which Roger did not make the finger gesture simple.
Yeah. It's simple.
But
It's just
you
6.
got there. So those are the 6 things that we've seen that successful grain businesses.
It's not just us. This is pretty well how it works.
Yeah. And like I said, this applies to a lot of business, whether it's
Sure.
farming, neurosurgery.
Yeah, if you're a farmer
whatever.
listening to this absolutely applies to you. And you know this. This is nothing. This is not rocket surgery. You know these things.
Mm-hmm.
The deal is learning how to do them. And it's the difference between knowledge and wisdom, right? Or knowledge and understanding. You can know some things, but do you know how to use them?
Yeah.
It's simple. Just do it.
Simple.
Just do it.
A baby could do it.
Or caveman.
Maybe. Okay. All right. Well, that's it. We hope to see everybody out there on the road, at the meetings. At the meetings that I thought were on our public website, but maybe they're not. But reach out to us if you're out in the country, want to see us. Get a grain bin koozie, whatever. We'll see you out there at the meetings and all that stuff. Roger,
Okay.
Do you have any final words of wisdom for us?
Goodbye.
I always love people are like, hey, we have a great conversation with somebody on the phone, like 20 minutes long, and we hash out everything. So, well, got any like final words of wisdom? I'm like,
I've never been asked for words of wisdom, but
I
probably
hate that.
for a good reason. But
I hate that because now
someone
it's
asked
now,
you for words
yeah.
of wisdom
So now like
on a
nukes.
phone
Like
call?
I thought what was the last 20 minutes? I gave you everything I had. That's all the wisdom I have.
Peace out.
Unless you want to talk about giants, then well, come on. No. So, anyways, all right. Well, appreciate everyone's time. We'll see you next time. As always, thanks for downloading and listening. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with folks you know in the business.
And if you'd like to reach out anytime about anything at all or have any show ideas, you can always find us on Twitter at ElevatorsCut. Follow us there, tweet at us, DM us, and we'll always respond.
Till next time, for Roger, I'm Jason.
For Jason, I'm Roger.
Thanks for listening to the Elevators Cut.
Out.